Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see a couple of people here. The meeting is recording, so we will just give a moment or two. I'll do a few hellos while we're waiting. A couple of people have noted they may join us late. It's so nice to see so many people from the Teaching Academy. We always get the support we need, which is great. I think I just see a chat.
Deborah, there's just
Yes.
a couple of comments that people are not able to turn their microphone or microphone or camera on.
Thank you for letting me know that.
I will have a look at the back end of the session and see whether I can fix it while we wait.
Thank you. I know that Lachlan usually joins us, so he may be here any moment now. But in the meantime, sorry to those of you who can't turn your camera or your mic on. Please feel free to pop a note in the chat. Anything we miss, we will come back to you. For those of you who can't join us right now, welcome to the session. We appreciate wherever and whenever you're watching from that it's a busy time and that you may well have some questions. Please contact us about that later. I see, Kashila, you're up for a comment.
I fixed it. Thank you very much.
You fixed it. You're all online now. Thank you. How wonderful. Well, my name is Deborah Shiel. I'm from the Teaching Academy team. We're here today to talk to you concerning peer review. I have just shared the screen. When I say about peer review, this session is for peer reviewers. So for those of you who went through the process in the last couple of years, you know what it's about, but welcome to our community. It's so good to have peer reviewers. The philosophy of the peer review and the Teaching Academy in general and DLT is excellent teaching. We like to celebrate excellent teaching. We will hunt it down and we will find it and we will celebrate it because it's so important to us. So from that perspective, we also note that in particular for peer reviews, we are providing third-party evidence to the promotions panels where they make a decision on promotion application. So it's part of a bigger promotion application, but it is important, and therefore the fair, balanced, constructive, appropriate narrative that we provide is just so important. So framing it up with that. I initially will go through some slides just to give an overview and an outline. And as we get to about, toward the end, I'll stop and check in with people and then I'll go through perhaps some evidence that you can look at in those things. So let's make a start. Always interesting to me, those of you who know me, and most of you do, as I like to know the policy. Always policy drives so much of what we do. So the Academic Promotion Evidence Guides sets out the evidence and standards, and that is where they note that if you are teaching, if you're including teaching in your promotion application, then people must have a summative peer review. Now, this includes if you're teaching practice involves HDR supervision. So that's the basis of it. From that, we look at the peer review for promotion. The promotion processes at Charles Sturt are governed by Division of People and Culture, organised by them, etc. The peer review at CS program and initiative supports the promotions team. We have a great relationship with them. Sometimes people will come to us with various questions related to peer review, but more appropriate for the promotions team to look at. We have a good relationship. We send those on and we'll liaise with you till the query or concern gets sorted. As peer reviewers, it's less likely you have to do that. We can usually sort out everything you've got, but if we need to, we will work with the promotions team. We talk about educational practice. many of you, when you've filled in your expression of interest in being a peer reviewer, will have been asked, could you notify 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of these? But just so that you know, the peer review of teaching practice involves direct teaching, which includes learning design and assessment practices. Further, the work integrated learning, so will supervision, and I see we've got Faith here, so she's the expert in that. Welcome, Faith. And then the practices also include, as I've mentioned, higher degree by research and educational leadership. For your information as a peer reviewer, when we're dealing with educational leadership, the evidence that you look at, the narrative you construct is a little bit different than you're going to do if you're dealing with direct teaching. So bear that in mind. We're here to help you. We can provide you with guidance and information on that as you need. Further to that, it's really important because the intent to apply for an application finishes on the 30th of April. Therefore, the teaching session is almost finished. It finishes early June. So if you are looking at direct or synchronous observation of teaching practice, which some of your peer reviewers will like to do, then please make sure that if they request it, that you get in early, you make sure you've got access to their current Brightspace site, you make sure if they need it synchronously that you can make the times where they teach. If you can't, please contact me. Please contact us. We'll work it out. We'll get it sorted. But it's important also that your peer reviewer understand it doesn't have to be synchronous. Many of our sessions are recorded. We can go into Brightspace sites. We can view asynchronously and make teaching comments on teaching practice using that. But that's something that has come up in the past, so I'd like you to bear that in mind. Okay, for this, the process of the teaching peer reviews. So first of all, I'll just go through this briefly, but the reviewee has quite a lot to do before they meet with you. They select 3 teaching capabilities to be reviewed. If teaching capabilities are new to you, and to many of you they won't be, but to some of you they may be, I will touch on those later in this session. But the reviewee selects it. They then organise an initial meeting with you to plan the review, discuss the capabilities and consider timelines. A little later on, I talk about what you should try to get out of that first meeting. The peer reviewer then reflects and records their capabilities against the selected items, and they provide evidence. They start gathering and providing evidence to you. They then submit that evidence to you for peer review. They provide supporting links and documentation for you in a timely manner. So that's really important, that when you're talking to them, and as a peer reviewer, we do not expect you to go through reams and reams of information, whole subject sites, whole series of lectures. We don't expect you to do that. We note that it's about a 5-hour process, so bear in mind that as you're looking at perhaps the initial submission. You then do your assessment, that this is where it comes in for your expertise, your evaluative judgment and your teaching and learning hat. We put the teaching and learning discipline, or the disciplinary knowledge you have about teaching and learning, is just so important in this particular process, because we are providing a narrative, constructive, fair and balanced response to people's evidence for their claims of teaching excellence. And then final one is that you submit the report. So the report is filled in and you submit it to the peer review team. We send it on to DPC and copy your peer reviewee in. They do get a copy of the report. It forms part of their application process. So I'm going to pause there. I do see one thing in the chat, but is there any questions, anything I should be answering for people? I can see shakes of the head. That's great. Good. Okay. Back to the information. We have a template. I talked about the report. The report is on a template. Once again, many of you will be familiar with this, but we ask the reviewer to fill out this template and then put in the details of their context, if you like, their teaching, etc. But also they select the teaching capability from a teaching capabilities framework. They select 3 of those, and then they put in a 500-word reflection on their teaching excellence, really, but also their teaching practices related to that teaching capability that they've chosen. You will be involved probably in guidance to some extent, or at least discussion about what teaching capability they choose. That's really important. But from a template point of view, the learner puts the reflection in. They then link to their supporting evidence. Now, we do suggest that people provide evidence within a folder, perhaps on the shared drive, so that you're able to go in and look at all their evidence at the same time in the same place. So that's what we suggest people do. That shouldn't be links of 5 or 10 or 15. It should be 2 or 3 links that will take you ideally to the key evidence that they're providing to support their claim of teaching excellence. And that's what you'll evaluate, and that's what you'll comment on. And then your comments go in here, approximately 400 words. So you'll pop them in the template, construct them, put them in. Once you've done that, the overall comments. Now, peer reviewers, we don't make decisions on whether someone is promoted, but we can certainly comment on what we've seen about their teaching practice, constructive, fair and balanced, and guiding the promotion panels to actually make informed decisions about the teaching practice of our reviewees. It then gets signed and we'll send it off. What some people have noted is that the reflection can focus on the task and read like a list of tasks as opposed to the impact, which is so important in promotion applications, the so what. So be aware of that. Try to guide the peer review try to guide them in discussions to make sure they focus on the impact as part of their broader learning narrative. I noted earlier the timing is about 5 hours. That's what we've received feedback. We survey people from our peer review community, and it's around 5 hours. Some people take a little longer, but that's a nice guide. Seems to be quite a common timing for doing a single peer review. That includes the meeting, the constructing, and the sending off to the people, to the peer reviewees. Now, my chat isn't showing. Could perhaps Kel or Wendy or someone let me know if there's any questions I should be answering? Yep, you let me know. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, the peer review reports, I've said this before, but it's just worth being very clear on it. The promotion committee considers peer review reports as part of the wider application for promotions. Whilst we don't make judgments on whether they should receive a promotion, we do make judgments, evaluative, professional, learning and teaching-based judgments on the evidence they provide for their claims of teaching excellence. So it does require that those nuanced interpretations of evidence, expressions of how you are putting that information toward the promotion committee. So the conducting the review, this is where I talked about earlier. We have found, again, with the feedback, the preparedness. A lot of our wonderful peer reviewers come back to us and say, look, I love doing this. It was really, really good. It was great. But my peer reviewee was not very prepared. We do everything we can to ensure preparedness, but for you, just for your information, by the time you meet them, your peer reviewee should have engaged with the DPC information on the requirements and timeframes for promotion processes. If somebody's asking you something you don't know, in the first instance, throw me a line, Teams message, something like that. We'll follow that up for you if we can. But really, they should have engaged with those. They should have prepared, by the time they're meeting with you, their peer review context. So where they are, what they're looking for, what area of education they're focusing on. Some people might focus on direct teaching assessment and also work integrated learning, and also have a bit of the HDR supervision. So some people might want a combination of that. In that case, be really aware of, or have a quick discussion with them about their promotion narrative. How does this peer review fit in and support and enhance their promotion narrative? Perhaps they don't need all three of those in a peer review. Perhaps they do. In the end, it is up to them. We will peer review the evidence they provide us. But at this early meeting, it's really nice for them to, when they're talking about their peer review context, for you to perhaps guide whether you think that sounds right, or to find out a bit more about their promotion narrative. And they should have had a conversation with their manager and ensured their support for their application and also for the guidance. So as part of the promotion process, applicants are required to have their manager sign off on it. So if they haven't spoken to their managers, if you get that sense, really encourage them to. But they're the kinds of things that you prepare yourself for. If they haven't done them, perhaps once again, suggest they go off and do that before your next meeting. And if you're really stuck, drop us a line and see what we can do. If we can do anything for you, we will try. The next part of your pre-review meeting is that by the end of it, and it's probably about half an hour to 45 minutes, that does depend, I have to admit, on the preparedness of your peer reviewee, but you would like to have discussed the considerations of what they have chosen, what capabilities they've chosen from their teaching capabilities framework. So it's important that as they go away, they really have a clear idea of, this is what I'm doing and this is the evidence I'm going to provide you, and what is the impact? Have I got evidence of impact for those capabilities? Now, yeah, the types and quality of evidence they can provide to you. So they might be able to say, oh, I'm not sure how I can show my inclusive teaching practice, which is teaching capability 1, but I've got lots of evidence on work integrated learning. Now, whilst they're linked, always they're going to be linked in the teaching practice, drill down a little bit with them into the teaching capabilities framework and the levels that are required, the levels that are noted in that. The level that they are demonstrating excellence at, which is their current level, and the level that they're applying for promotion to. Those discussions, if a peer reviewee comes to you, they should have been thinking about this. They should have really been prepared for this. But if they haven't, it's a great opportunity for you to use your recent experience, for many of you, in promotions, and your teaching and learning experience and expertise just by being an academic within Charles Sturt. And then talk to them about the timelines. Some of you will be having leave, some of them will be having leave. How long do you need to review this evidence? We suggest that it's absolutely within that you get it at least a week before the final dates, so a week before the end of July, and that you have a chance to read through it. But some of you may prefer it 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Do have that discussion about the timelines. The assessing of the evidence now, Kashila's here in here with me, so I think that she will probably have things to say about this a little later on. But just from our learning, from people who have done peer reviews for us as part of our peer review community, making summative judgments about the teaching practices is sometimes a little hard or a little concerning, confronting perhaps in some cases initially. Contact us in the first instance. Don't sit there being worried about it. But we do have a Brightspace site which does have examples of ways to put constructive, fair and balanced feedback. And we also can provide some discussion, some information for you as you reach that. Ways to do it is to ask yourself, well, is this claim backed by solid evidence to support your summative judgment? Is it backed by it? And what kind of evidence? How much? What is the range of evidence they're providing you? Are they only providing you a very limited range, or across the peer review, can you see these practices quite clearly and quite obviously? And I have to reassure you, please, in many cases you will. People are preparing for their promotion. They've got it covered. You will see very robust evidence to support the claims that people are making. But if you don't know, if there's any bit of tension there, please contact us in the first instance. Don't sit there stressing on it. We can guide you. Also wanted to just be clear about the role of the reviewer. So it's to provide balanced feedback to the promotion panel to allow them to make an appropriate decision. Now, that's something that I've been saying, something that I'm going to keep saying, because when you're stuck in the middle of it, when you're doing it, you'll be thinking, right, I'm constructing this. How do I provide balanced feedback to help the promotion panel make a decision? It's got to be fair and balanced, as it will inform their decisions about the reviewees' teaching practices. They're not going to read all the evidence. They're not going to see all the evidence. They're not going to read the reflection. They're going to read your review, your comments. And then we suggest that you guide your peer reviewer. It's important for you to guide your peer reviewer to see it as part of their broader promotion application narrative. So when they're talking about what they've put in their promotion application, the story they're telling, the story of impact, the story of where they've done excellently at level and where they can do excellently at the level they're aiming for, then that was really a nice way for you to use your expertise and your experience to guide them to see, right, this peer review is a little bit of the puzzle. It's a bit of the puzzle. It's an important bit of the puzzle, but the broader narrative of your promotion is really very important. And then finally, I've talked about it, but the constructive comments. So 400 words, we suggest you use your 400 words to provide detailed, constructive and evidence feedback to form a comprehensive basis for an evaluation from the from the promotion panels. I suggest you take a strength-based approach. The policy says that applicants for promotion will demonstrate excellence at level and excellence or ability to do excellence at the target level. Therefore, looking at good, excellent teaching practices is a nice way to do that. However, it must be fair and balanced, clear, objective, and aligned to CHELSTER requirements. So really important that if they're not quite at the mark, it might be wise for them to reconsider their narrative or reconsider whether that particular teaching capability is the best one that they can demonstrate and can provide evidence for. We're nearly there. We're going to get to the teaching capabilities framework. I am going to open this up because, as I say, for some of you, it might not be as top of mind. The links are in here, but this is what the teaching capability framework looks like. It has 12 capabilities and they are noted, this is the headline if you like, but from levels A to E. So looking at the level that people are currently demonstrating excellence at is really important as you construct and as you think about the peer review, but also the level they're going for. This is something that people get more and more familiar with. A lot of the time, many people, well, not many people, occasionally someone will have looked and thought, yes, I ensure an inclusive learning experience for all my students. This is one for me. But when they read into the level they're going for, what they have to demonstrate excellence in, it might be that perhaps there's another teaching capability that actually links better to what evidence they're going to provide you. The first one's the empower questions. A lot of people tend to go for those who are looking at direct teaching and assessment practices. And the being exceptional can often be chosen by some of the people who have chosen educational leadership as their focus, I guess, for their peer review. So, yeah, it's good to be aware of that. I'm not going to go into too much further detail unless there's questions on that, but it's really important to note how that works and to use that. It does provide us guidance as peer reviewers. Examples of evidence. I really did want to talk about this from the perspective of the range of evidence that you'd like to see and the types of evidence that you might be presented with. So headlines again, there's teaching and curriculum materials. There's always going to be feedback and evaluation. When people are looking at excellent teaching, how did the student do it? How did I go? What was my impact? And then supervision and student support. Many people have just wonderful array of emails, of evidence, of ways that they show that they have really applied the supervision and support for students. The student learning and performance data, most of us are very familiar with what forms they can take and what to look for with that. How they've engaged in professional engagement and development, both internally, externally, and at industry levels as well. And then the recognition and scholarly contributions. So scholarship of teaching and learning is important. Scholarly practice in learning is important. How can they demonstrate that? What kind of evidence they can provide? So that they're examples of evidence. There's a whole range that you'll come across. And then finally, I mentioned the peer review Brightspace site. So please visit it. Please let us know if you'd like something added to it. Anything we can do to support you, we will. That's the end of my presentation from the talking point of view, from the Deborah talking point of view. What I'd like to do is open it up a little bit, see if we have any comments or queries. And to start us off, I think, Kashila, you're on the spot here, but I might invite you to have a few words on this too, please.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Deborah, and thank you, peer reviewers. You are such an important part of the Teaching Academy, enabling our colleagues to be set up for success in the context of promotion, which is very high stakes, highly stressful. And so especially if you've been through the process of promotion, we really want to support you to support other people to be successful in that space. So I reinforce what Deborah has been saying, that when you're doing a peer review in the context of promotion, remember your role is actually more than a peer reviewer. It's actually a peer reviewer who is also supporting that applicant to understand and construct a really compelling account of their practice in the context of their promotions application. So when I have my first peer review conversation, for example, I never start with, what are you going to focus for your peer review? I always start with, tell me a little bit about, you, who you are, your work function, the responsibilities you have within your role, and tell me a little bit about how you are approaching the promotions kind of narrative. And then we move that into the peer review. So I would encourage you to also be confident and comfortable to have that type of conversation, because then you're starting with the whole picture and then moving to a specific part, which is the peer review. And we will absolutely support you in that space. And if you've been successfully promoted, which I know a number of you have been, you have so much lived experience that you can draw on to support people in this space. So I just want to validate that and help you understand your role in that. Deborah, I've got a couple of slides which I've been quickly working on while you were talking. And these are slides that some of you would have seen if you've come along to an Advanced HE Fellowship, or you've come along to some of the Teaching Academy PD sessions that I've run, you would have seen those slides. But I want to reinforce the same message in the context of peer review. So I'm going to share my slides. Let me just do it this way. Just bear with me. And I think Steph wants the link for the peer review site. I think we'll put that in there soon. Thank you. I'm just trying to present in Teams. Oh, here we go. 3 slides only, but I just wanted to, and these are resources for you to use with your peer reviewers, right? So I think the more examples and resources that you have, the more confident you feel that you have all these tools in your toolkit that you can go and deploy in any which way you need. So this slide you would have seen in the context of lots of PD that we've done around what makes for a compelling critical reflection account of the practice, right, of this peer, of this reviewee. So I love the what, how, why, so what, and what now. This is a slide I keep going back to all the time. I use this framework to guide my peer reviewee to understand what does a compelling example or description of your practice look like. So you would also recognize this, that as educators, as people in learning and teaching, we are really good at process. So we can talk at length around what we do and how we do it. And we also talk about why we do it. But where we fall short, and I know that it's the same for me as well, is that when it comes to the so what, what's your impact and outcomes been? We are less strong in talking about our impact and outcome. So if you feel like this slide is useful to share with your reviewee, do that, because it reminds them, it gives them a very simple framework to guide their reflections in the context of the peer review. And guess what? They can use the same approach for their promotions narrative. So, you know, it's a win-win-win. So I really want you to see what's here and kind of get them to understand that, yes, tell us, by all means, tell us what you do, how you do it, and why you do it. But also make sure that in your reflections, you are talking about the so what. What's your outcomes being as a teacher or as a leader or as a course director, whatever role that they happen to be in, and who have you impacted? So make sure that they're doing that level of critical reflection. And if they have enough words left, there's nothing, you know, they can also go to that next step to briefly outline what they might do next as part of their evolving kind of practice or as part of their career trajectory. So I'll leave that slide there with you, and I'll drop it into the chat as a resource for you. The next thing I've learned along the way is that when we look at narratives of all shapes and sizes, so for fellowship, for promotion, for teaching awards, for peer review, the thing that we would see all the time is that sometimes people find it really hard to have that balance between breadth, the shopping list of examples, and the depth. So I would really say that one of the things I have come to appreciate along the way is that you really need to support people to understand what's that beautiful balance between breadth and depth of reflection. So for your peer review role in the context of a reflection, Deborah, how long is the reflection for each teaching capability? Is it 400 words?
Yes.
Yeah. So they're not going to get 5 examples in. No, tell them, pick 2, pick your 2 strongest ones. Go back to the slide before and make sure that your 2 strongest ones follow this framework of, you know, talking about the why, the how, the what, and the so what. So spell it out for them, because I will see a lot of people who try to squeeze in lots of examples, and that shopping list approach will never make the cut, because what a panel is looking for is the so what. Tell us about your practice, but tell us the difference you've made to your students, might be to colleagues that you're leading, to your community, or whatever it is, to industry. So help them to understand that right balance between depth and breadth. Depth meaning follow that framework to talk about your practice and the outcomes of that. The breadth meaning if you're picking 3 teaching capabilities and you've got 2 examples in each, make sure that there's the breadth of examples. Don't use the same example and recycle it across 2 different areas. And in fact, if you've used some examples in your peer review report, think about how there's a continuity from those examples into your promotions narrative. So do help them to kind of think about that continuity of the story, and they're showing through both the peer review and the promotions application that they have a breadth of practice, but also a depth of practice. And that's my last point. You have to really use the right examples for the correct teaching capability. And this is where your judgment as or expertise as a peer reviewer comes in, because if they're sharing an example with you, you might say, actually, this is possibly less about inclusive teaching practices, and maybe it's better fit for this capability around authentic assessment. So I find myself often saying to my peer reviewees, tell me about the types of examples you'd like to use for this. And sometimes I do make a recommendation that it could sit better against another one. But if you have that thought and you are unsure, reach out to us, because we will support you to support them, right? And then the final slide, they have so much data. They have so much evidence, right? And you can see the list. Deborah's given you another nice list of all the examples of data and evidence they can draw on to kind of support their claim. But what you have to help them understand, and Deborah, you made this point really beautifully, is like, it's not about them giving you a shopping list of evidence saying, okay, now, Deborah, go off and make sense of it. They have to do the sense making for you. It's not your job to be presented with a list of student feedback, learning analytics, just randomly, right? Like, they have to actually, in their reflection, in their peer review narrative, they should be signaling what evidence supports the claim that they're making. So if they are choosing an example, say from their course coordination, let's say role, and they want to really make a statement about how they're really leading others in curriculum uplift, let's say. So at that point, I would be saying to them, like, at that point, do refer to the specific evidence that you have in your evidence folder. So you're signaling to me what bits of the evidence I need to look at in order to understand the outcome and the impact that you've had. So they have to do the work to help you make sense of all the data and evidence that they might have. So do help them understand that, because sometimes what we found in peer review is that people seem to think that they'll give us a whole bunch of things and then it's for us to make the sense. And I say, no, actually, it's your peer review. So you do the sense making for me. And then I will, with our expertise in learning and teaching, with your expertise in your disciplinary knowledge, as well as learning and teaching, you can kind of come back with that reflection and commentary about what you're seeing, what they've presented you with. So that's all I wanted to say. I will stop sharing if I can find out how to stop sharing. But I really just want our peer reviewers to understand how important that is to do those three things. So I will share the slides in this chat, and Deborah, you can hopefully send these to others. But this is not anything new that I'm saying. I've been saying this in many other contexts, but I just wanted to bring the same thing back into the peer review context because it applies equally in this space. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Presenting. Thank you. So I think, yeah, and if you're unsure, if there's a more kind of situation where you think, you know what, I'd like to get some feedback from Deborah about how I go about a particular thing, reach out to us. You're so responsive, Deborah, and you're there to support the peer review community to do their utmost best to support those reviewees and promotion applicants to be successful. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kashila. Much appreciated. In the background, we've been getting links out and Brightspace links, etc. If they don't go through today, I will send them out to all our peer reviewers. Wonderful Wendy's here with us. We'll send the email out covering that, as well as the slides that you provided, Kashila. Thank you. I did want to note the dates. I mentioned the July date, but the 24th of July is the last day for submitting the peer review from peer reviewers, into the peer review team. So if you make a note of that, work backwards from that. You need, I think, at least a week, but however you want to to work to arrange your workflow, be aware that the 24th of July is the last day that you can submit your peer review report to us. We then forward it off to DPC. Now,
Faith might have had her hand up. Did you,
oh,
Faith?
Faith.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to say thank you for the session and acknowledging the work of the peer reviewers. It's something I very much enjoy doing. I just wanted to raise a query. The way you set up the peer review program is very much like a mentoring and supporting program. You're reviewing people's application, you're providing advice on how they can improve their application. And as I was listening to your presentation, it was reminding me of the mentoring program that is a formalized program. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. And I just see the work that the peer reviewers do, as you've set it up, as being very similar to that kind of program. And I know people do get recognition for being mentors within that program. So I'm just wondering, is there a way that your peer reviewers could also get that kind of recognition for this work that they do? I don't know. I haven't thought it through. It's just as I was listening to you speaking that I was like, there's a lot of similarities in the work that your reviewers do. And I'm just wondering if that's maybe something. Happy to look into it for you if that helps.
I'm happy to respond to that. But Kashila, from the point of view, the answer is, I recognise it. We recognise it. I send cards, etc. So when you say recognition from the point of view of people can use the information we send to them, and a couple of people have asked me to say, can the peer review team confirm that I've been involved in this? So from that point of view, we absolutely do it. Whether you were asking from the point of view of the workload, etc., that's something that I'd have to pass on, but I think it's a lovely idea. I just love the peer review community, and I know the work and the effort, and it's not about the hours. It's about the knowledge that you're sharing, the relationality of you're demonstrating, modeling excellent teaching practice, excellent educator practice. So from the point of view, anyone who needs it for PPDR, for recognition, etc., absolutely, and I do that frequently. Above that, if that's what you're talking about, Faith, we can explore that. And I can see Kashila nodding, so she'll probably have something to say about that.
I guess, peer review is an important academic kind of, it's part of demonstrating academic citizenship, right? So this is where often our reviewers ask for confirmation from us that they've supported, other academics and therefore have demonstrated their citizenship for various things, PPDRs, promotions applications, fellowship applications, and so forth. We don't have but I think to your point, Faith, we don't have a formal kind of setup in with the org development team who do the Excel together, mentoring, for example. But, there is nothing to say that conversations couldn't happen to see whether there's a way that we can bring these things together, because I think we have teams in the universities. We're working in silos in a way. We're working in different divisions, and sometimes there's no talking amongst each other. And what I do know through the Excel Together mentoring program and the CONSCIA mentoring program is that they have Cronus, which is a fabulous tool that supports the matching of reviewees, even though, Deborah, you are our matching guru. So, no, Cronus doesn't exceed the work that you do in this space. But I think what you're saying, Faith, and I guess my reflection is that there are affordances within our university, in the systems we have, and in other initiatives that we can explore. And it might not be a 2027 thing. It might be a future thing, but if there's nothing greater than having that conversation to understand the intersections and how we can ensure then our reviewee community, our reviewer community are kind of, there's a place in which the data is held so that people can simply go to one place and say, there's my portfolio of my academic, service and citizenship. So yeah, thank you. I think that's a great point.
Okay. Once again, I invite any queries or questions in this forum. Please ask if they occur to you later, or if they occur to you or you come across something during the next month or two. Please let us know. We will support you in any way we can. I do intend to organise some drop-ins later on once you've started, probably the end of May and mid-June, for peer reviewers to be able to just check in, see, are other people finding this? How's this working for me? Where are we going? So Wendy and I will contact you with the details of that as it comes closer to the time. But in the meantime, I once again express heartfelt gratitude to you for your time, your care, and your commitment to the community for peer reviews. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing that we do together. So thank you for that. And I look forward to working closely with you as needed.
See you, everyone. Take care.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.